अभी आपको बताएं, वज़ीर ख़ारजा बिलावल भुट्टो ज़रदारी ने इस्लामाबाद में तैनात गैर मुल्की सफ़ीरों के एजाज़ में इफ्तार डिनर दिया। इस मौके पर खिताब करते हुए उनका कहना था कि रमज़ान मुबारक हमें गरीबों का एहसास करने का दर्स देता है।
During the month of Ramadan, where as Muslims we observe or are supposed to observe not only fasting and certain mandatory rituals, but also we are supposed to think the efforts of fasting are supposed to encourage us to think about the less privileged, the bottom of the social pyramid, the poorer people who don't enjoy access to regular food, regular water, etc. And I think that's particularly poignant while we're gathered here in Islamabad with representatives from across the world, that they are people in all our societies, but particularly in Pakistan, who are facing incredibly difficult times at the moment. And absolutely, as Foreign Minister of this country, I should be able to admit, and I am ready to accept, that a lot of those difficulties are of our own making. Some mistakes that we, as the collective we, that as far as economic policy, etc., may result in. I often, in our speeches to Parliament, we refer to one of the former government's decisions. But at the same time, we're also facing, they're also facing the economic consequences of certain decisions that are also outside our control. And though that is true for people in my country, and that's true for people in your country as well. For example, we are facing the consequences of this devastating climate catastrophe, and the people who are suffering as a result of that didn't necessarily play such a role in the climate crisis that resulted in this catastrophe. That's the same for many people in your country, especially the younger generations, who are facing the consequences for decisions and actions of others. There's conflict, or there's the consequences of the COVID pandemic, which all of us are still facing today. The economic consequences of the COVID pandemic that has had economic consequences for my country and every single country sitting here today. And then obviously there's the heightened geopolitical context that we live in at the moment. And as a result of that, a lot of people in my country and in a lot of countries represented here today are facing the consequences of decisions that others are. The point being that, well, obviously we have to work together to address all these issues. We're reminded in this particular month that the consequences of our actions affect those that are perhaps not as empowered as we are. And therefore, when we have a responsibility or a position through which we can affect the lives of the less fortunate, it has always been our effort, and I believe it should be our collective effort, that as minimum the burden could possibly be that we place on the bottom of the pyramid. And sitting on that table over there is the Federal Minister for the Benazir Income Support Program, Ms. Shazia Murray. And I must commend and compliment her personal efforts, but obviously the efforts of her institution.